Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Modern Living with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Dr. Martha Watts, and we are going to talk about her Adventure of Iyani series today. Now, I'm excited about it because it is the cutest series of all of the children's books that we have talked about this month, and I think that you are going to enjoy it as well. So let's go on and get started. Good morning, Dr. Martha. Thank you so much for being on today.
Good morning, Dr. Angela, and thank you for having me.
Now, I love that you have chosen to want to be a children's author. I love that. I think that children's book authors are a special group of folks because you guys are cultivating the minds of our little ones. But before we get into what your book is especially about, I wanted to ask you about the importance or the significance, if there's one, of Ianni and the type of animal that she is. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you chose her and the personality that you gave her?
Thank you very much for asking. So Ianni is an iguana, and because at the time I was writing for, the setting was the Virgin Islands, I was writing for students in the Virgin Islands, and the iguana is well known, although it's not native to the Virgin Islands. It is almost an icon. So you would walk into any tourist store and she's there. You would be crossing the street, driving up the road and she's crossing the street. You go to the restaurants and she's there eating with people. So I just felt that it was something that the kids knew, and because she was well respected, she's not, people don't, kill her off or eat her like some other islands do. So I just felt like since she's cherished, let's just use her to actually get students to understand themes such as resilience, such as caring for others, being accountable to your friends, being adventurous, being able to have that level of confidence you need as a young person growing up in the Caribbean islands.
I think that is so smart. I love that. And like you said, the fact that they're already familiar, it kind of brings an automatic closer step to them of saying, hey, I know who that is. And perhaps they even have like a little pet one, so to speak, that runs through the yard or so. I know that when my sister lived in Puerto Rico, there were, little animals that would scurry by, and the kids, when they were little, they looked forward to that particular time of day. So I can understand that. Now, I love that you described many times how you are teaching the children about science and botany and animals and all. Was that a part of your initial plan when you started writing, or did you find that just kind of happened naturally because you were sharing?
Well, it was deliberate because because I teach writing, I usually encourage the teaching of writing across content. So I decided if Ianni could teach about plants, botany, then a science teacher could choose that book to read. If Ianni could teach about the history of the Virgin Islands or the history of anywhere, then a social studies teacher could use Ianni. If Ianni spoke about foods, about music, then all of this is social, things like social studies. So it was deliberate. I used a lot of literary devices because I knew a language arts teacher would be able to use her as well. So the whole idea of going from putting some science, like the parts of the iguanas in there, putting some social studies, putting some cultural aspect, is because I always advocate for teaching writing and reading across disciplines.
I love it. And how wise on your part. You are most correct. Many times if you simply put it in there, it makes it so much easier for the teacher to be able to bring it out and say, hey, I can include this. for story time. And then the children are exposed to a book that looks like them, or at least around what their surroundings look like. I love that. Now, you have written, and of course, listeners, you can go to Amazon and pick up a copy of the book. There's Adventures of Iyani, and I love how they all start that way. You have The Voyage West, The Incredible Beginning, and the Iyani coloring book, Meet Iyani Adventures coloring book. Can you tell me about those?
The coloring book. So the coloring book is it's like a subtle way of teaching writing at the same time and reading. So it's not just a plain coloring book. It is the main idea is to introduce students with the plants again and the fruits in the Caribbean. So you have all the canips in there, you have the starfruit, but at the same time there's a storyline on the bottom of every page that Ianni is talking about herself, she's talking about her hobbies and the things that she does. She shows kindness in there because she teaches the younger ones how to fight off prey, and then she also helps the elderly. So there's a narrative in the coloring book, and at the end of that coloring book, there is for kids to write their own story. So I have questions in there as like, where do you live?
Wow.
What are some of the things that you like? Yes. So when parents go through this, they're doing quite a few things. They can research. I remember I was working with my nieces in December, and one of them, she refused to color the soursop because she didn't know what it looked like. And so I had to go online, find pictures of the soursop for her so that she could color, because she wanted to make sure that her coloring was real. I went outside the yard and get her the hibiscus. She wasn't sure what parts of the hibiscus was what. She knew that the big part was red, but what about the other little parts? She wanted all the fine things. So I had to get her a real hibiscus, put it in front of her so she could actually make that kind of, do her coloring. So it's again, we have science, we have botany, we have, introduction with fruits of the Caribbean, and they get to read the story and also write it. So up to grade 2, K through 2 kids, pre-K through 2, can find fun in coloring, read, and then write. So it's all combined.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you chose to include a coloring book for the series, because I think it really does reiterate any what they've learned or the story that they heard, and it just brings it to life. What a beautiful way to really help our little ones, our little ones, be able to make the connection. Now, and you mentioned that coloring for children is awesome. I'm so glad that they've come out with coloring books for adults as well, because what a beautiful way to, release stress. I was one of those people who really enjoy doing the coloring books. It's just a nice way to let your mind relax and kind of hit reset. Now, your Adventures of Ianni book series, you have The Voyage West and The Incredible Beginning. Can you tell me about those two books?
So The Voyage West, Ianni is the adventurous girl, of course, full of confidence, and she's all of those things. But then she gets herself in a situation where she has to survive. She's in survival mode, and she has to do everything in her power. She cannot give up. She cannot make any stupid move so that she gets killed. She has to stay put and then just survive. It's like, it reminds me of us right now. We are indoors. Some of us are anxious to go out, but we are indoors for a purpose. And so she's hidden in a space, and if she makes herself, if she reveals where she is, she could be in danger. And so she endures that whole journey, and she ends up in a new area away from her friends, away from everything that she knows as life as normal, and she must now reset. And that's where the first one ends. The second one, which is the Adventures of Ianni, The New Beginning, goes back to Ianni's start of her life. And she's a young, curious iguana, and she's asking a lot of questions. How did we get here? Why did you come? Why? So it's a whole focus on immigration. Iyani is asking her mom about where she came from, which is Latin America, South America. And mom is explaining to Iyani about the tall trees and the huge rivers and all those things that they could climb as high as they wish. And Iyani is asking them, if it was so sweet down there, why are we up here? And then she has to explain. And that's one of the questions that students, children are asking parents right now, because we know that America is the land of immigration. And so from way back when, you hear people saying, oh, I'm Irish, oh, I'm, from here, I'm from here. And so these questions are always going to be around. And that's one of the things that Ianni is doing. And another thing that's happening there is they're doing a lot of community service. They're going to the infirmary to help support the kids who are, the ones that are sick, the injured iguanas, and they're taking the newspapers and they're reading to them. So it's just a whole idea of teaching kids that when people are in confinement, we shouldn't forget about them. We want to make sure that we can go ahead and, give them that kind of feeling that they're still part of our society and we appreciate their contributions before.
I love it. I love it. Well, Dr. Martha Watts, I have enjoyed my time with you today, and thank you so much for coming on Modern Living with Dr. Angela and sharing your series of books and coloring books with our listeners today. Last question for you. If anyone wants to get in contact with you or they want to purchase a copy of your book, can you remind them how can they do that?
Beautiful. So if they want to buy just single books, they can go to Amazon and just look for Adventures of Ianni by Auntie Marcella, and they will see those books. Or if they want to buy bulk, like a larger volume, they can go to the printing company, which is Ingram Spark. It will give them at least 45% off, and that would be a good place to buy if libraries or schools want to buy book sets. Or they can contact me at buddingwriters.com, which is my website, or they can call me at 407-630-8055, and I can give them the necessary discounts that they would like if they're ordering large volumes.
Thank you again, Dr. Martha Watts, for being on the show today.
Thank you very much,
we'll be
Dr.
back.
Angela, for having me.
You are so welcome. We'll be back right after this.
Okay, bye-bye.
Being with Infants by Montessori teacher trainer and world-renowned child specialist Beverly Kovach is finally on DVD and digital download. The long-awaited 3D disc set is essential for any new parent, grandparent, or infant caregiver wanting respectful relationships with infants and their care. Being with Infants is broken down into 20 easy-to-digest video lessons, complete with demonstrations. Everything from diapering, feeding, the proper way of picking up infants, sleep, crying, environment, play, weaning, and much more are covered. Being with Infants is available on DVD and digital download at Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. Order today and be sure to follow Being with Infants on Facebook for free bonus content.
And we are back. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing Modern Living with Dr. Angela with me today. Now, you guys know that I love giving an international shout-out to our listeners, and we're going to do that very quickly. So, who made it to the leaderboard this week? Coming in number one is the United States of America. Thank you, home country, for being number one. Number two is the Philippines. Thanks, Philippines. Number three is Australia. Thanks, Australia. Number four is Canada. Thanks, Canada. Number five is the United Kingdom. Thanks, United Kingdom. Now, we know that there are more of you listening from around the globe, and we appreciate each and every one of you tuning in and doing so. Until next time, may you have a great mental health, but may you do it with a book. Until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.